In 2003, when the Mazda 6 first came to North America, it was the new kid on the block in the mid-size segment. It was kind of like Val Kilmer in the 90s. Good looking, athletic, and represented good value. But sort of like Val Kilmer aged, as the car got older, it got fatter, more sluggish, and people kind of lost interest in the Mazda 6. So if you're Mazda, what do you do to bring people back? Well, the first thing you do is you follow Kia and hire a designer from the Volkswagen Auto Group. And look at it. Wow. This car is hot. I think it looks best in that Soul Red, but even in this sobering gray, it looks pretty good. I never thought I would say this in a mid-sized market full of Toyota Camrys and Honda Accords, but Mazda has really stepped up its game. This design recently won the Red Dot Design Award according to Google. I'm thinking that means that it's not a design competition run by Target. It's similar on the inside as well. There's a lot of black in the interior, but overall it feels like a nice classy place to be, almost like a German car, which I like. Now, being of Asian descent, I was taught by my parents to be cheap. And if I wasn't going to spend any money, to make sure I got as much as I possibly can for my money. So for this GT spec model, which comes loaded pretty much at $35,000, this is what you get. You get a 5.8-inch LCD touchscreen, you get Bluetooth connection, you get the Pandora music system, you get blind spot monitoring system, a backup camera, steering wheel buttons, easy use dual climate control with knobs, because frankly I hate adjusting temperature with a bunch of switches. You get an auto dimming rear view mirror, a moonroof, a BMW-like iDrive thingy, which you can use to control your display, keyless entry, auto adjusting lights, auto up and down windows. Okay, I think you get the point. Long story short, you get a lot of value for your money, and that appeals to me. Okay, so it looks great inside and out, but what about the tech? So I've said this before, but I actually really like the approach that Mazda's taken with their fuel efficiency technology. Instead of jumping on the bandwagon of let's do a hybrid or let's do an electric car, they said, you know what, we can rethink normal gasoline engines and we can make them more efficient. So what Mazda's done is with the SkyActiv engines is they've really boosted the compression ratio. And the whole idea behind this is that with a higher compression ratio, in this case 13:1, you get better low down torque and you also get better fuel efficiency. So they've done this through three separate methods. The first thing is they have a specially designed 4-to-1 exhaust header. There's also specially designed piston heads and also special injectors that are designed to better mist the fuel into the combustion chamber. So that's how they're able to accomplish a really high compression ratio while at the same time only using regular gasoline. The 2.5-liter SkyActiv engine that makes 184 horsepower and about the same in pound-feet of torque is the only engine offered on the new Mazda 6. And while there is a diesel that's rumored to be headed this way, this car right now is not going to win you any drag races. But that being said, the power and torque feel pretty adequate for this car for just helping to get around town. And the cabin feels hushed and quiet, and there's not a lot of noise that creeps in. So it's a nice place to be once again. So with this car, there's two choices for transmissions. There's the 6-speed automatic SkyActiv, or there's the SkyActiv 6-speed manual. And the SkyActiv automatic actually gets the biggest gain in terms of development here over a conventional car. What Mazda's done is they've taken the conventional torque converter automatic and they make the torque converter portion a lot smaller. And what they've also done on top of that is they've reprogrammed the electronics so the torque converter locks up a lot more of the time. And so what you get in exchange is you get a less slushy-like feeling and a more direct drive. So when you step on the gas, you feel like car's already in gear, like with a manual. It's a lot more direct. The automatic also benefits from automatic downshift rev matching. So if you downshift in the automatic using, the paddle shifters or whatnot, the automatic will rev match for you, which I think is really cool. Now with this manual, Mazda really wanted the shift action to feel like that of a Mazda MX-5 or a Miata. And so they've completely redesigned the manual and they've upgraded all the bearings and bushings in the transmission. And the net efficiency gain from doing all of this is about 1%. Now that being said, what I do appreciate is you get a manual that has a really nice short shift. It's got really smooth and really direct throws. And it's just a joy to use. Above all that, I really appreciate Mazda even offering a manual in a car this size. And so thank you, Mazda, for making this. The only gripe I have with this manual is the clutch is a bit vague. So it makes smooth shifts a little bit tricky. Overall, it's a really good manual to use, and I really do like it. Now, Mazda calls their whole SkyActiv philosophy a system. And the reason why they call it a system is because it extends beyond just making engine and transmission improvements. They also say that there is a SkyActiv body and a SkyActiv chassis. Now, I'm going to clump those two together because they essentially boil down to the same thing. That redesigning the body and chassis in such a way that they form both lighter and stiffer structures than otherwise normally would results in a better handling car. It's got 19-inch wheels, so you would expect the ride to be quite harsh, but actually it pulls off the neat trick of being at the same time both compliant and actually pretty composed in the corners. This is actually quite a lot of fun. Yeah, it works. So we've talked a lot about the tech, we've talked a lot about all this stuff that's gone into this car, but does it all work? Well, on the 300 kilometers that I drove this car for, I averaged 6 liters per 100 kilometers. 6 on a large car. That is impressive. There's a lot of space back here, obviously. I mean, it's definitely enough space to fit at least 5 bodies or 4 sets of golf clubs. This car even comes with a friendly Australian to guide you around.
Turn left. Then, you have reached your destination. Grab your jandals, togs and chili bin and get going. Cheers for the ride, mate.
Can somebody from Australia tell me what that means? So now you built a good-looking car that's good to drive and it's loaded with tech. So what do you do next? You race it. Mazda entered this car, despite it being the size of a whale, at the Rolex Grand Am GX Series at Road Atlanta, and it won. So it's actually got some race pedigree to it too, which is really cool. So overall, the car is bigger, it's more fuel efficient, it's got more tech, but does that make it better? Overall, I would say yes, but I do have a few gripes. 1. These seats are not that comfortable. Despite the adjustable lumbar support, I found my lower back always hurt and my butt would go numb. 2. This car is huge. The design hides it well, and despite it having a decent turning radius, the size is very noticeable in a parking lot. What is impressive though is how Mazda has managed to make this car only 3,200 pounds. Pretty light for a boat. 3. Despite the car being so long, it doesn't have a huge amount of headroom, so there is a price to pay for that sexy design. But don't let these things deter you from looking at this car. Size issues aside, This car has used a great design and engineering prowess to work its way to what I think is the top of the class. You know, I feel like the Mazda 6 as a concept is quite smart. I mean, who doesn't want a car that can fit a bunch of people in it, that's fuel efficient, that's fun to drive, that is awesome to look at? I mean, who doesn't want that? And all this tech for 35 grand. All this tech. It is an excellent choice, and anybody that I see on the road with the Mazda 6, you have my respect. This is a good car. Good car.
143 car. 143 car. 143 car. 143 car.